Good evening. This is the recording of the book club discussion SansSerif for Desperately-Seeking-Shahrukh. Over to Mr. Suresh.
Okay. First, all of you are true warriors and true book lovers. It's proved today. Okay. Some announcements. We have had our book collection successfully cleared. Our books for July and August are, for July, The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. And for August, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. A few points I want to bring out on this. A Covenant of Water is 736 pages. Double Shahrukh, in other words. And and the lesson in chemistry is also 400 pages. So I just have one suggestion if we are all ready for it. Shall we switch the two books? The August book becomes water, that we have enough time to catch up reading it even if we are slow. And the smaller 400 page book which is supposed to be August, we'll take it in July. We have done it before once when we had a problem. So that is something we'll do. If all are ready, I will announce it officially. Then the new members, little bit about yourself, you can please talk.
He's also new, right? I hope you're not intimidated by this. Whatever you feel like.
It's so new to me. My name is Lata Gandhi, and I was quite happy to read this book actually. And
It's only introducing yourself.
oh, sorry.
Not the book.
Okay,
What shall I say?
I'm a postgraduate. I've born and brought up in Chennai, and right now I'm just relaxing at home. I'm single. I live alone, so I think I'll have enough time to devote for this book reading and all that.
We'll keep you busy.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I think we'll get to know.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I hope you find all of us fun to be with. Yeah, we have a lovely family.
Hi, I am Khalil. I was born and raised in Chennai, but I traveled around. I did my bachelor's in engineering from College of Engineering, Guindy. After that, I went to the US for my studies. I came back after a few years. I was here working here for a while and then went to Malaysia. I returned in 2018, and my function is actually I was teaching in a university all my life, most of my life, except for a few years here and there when I worked in industry. So that's my background. I love books, but the problem is once you get into the flow of your career, it was very difficult. I was losing touch. So I felt, and Babuji, another CEG alumnus, he told me about the club, and I said, why don't you introduce me, and then hopefully this will, push me to read a bit more regular. Okay,
and
that's
we all read the books and come. I mean, not to
yeah.
scare.
And actually, I joined 2 months back, but
Okay, Suresh just started.
Now, how many have you read the book?
I've read only 50.
Good. No, that's good enough. Then you put up half the.
50% left.
konja tokono. Okay. How many of you want to talk about it?
Definitely. What did you say? How many you want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? Of course.
I am just asking this for a reason, to see whether we should have a time slot limitation. Otherwise, we'll find that the last 2 or 3 can't talk. That shouldn't happen. Fully will talk first. That's what I was thinking.
To ask a person who's prepared to speak for, say, 10 minutes.
Trim it. I do that all the time. Lakshmi does it all the time. We have always been doing it, depending on the number of people talking.
Will be with you by the
Agreed, agreed.
Will God say the juicy parts or nice parts?
Let's see.
You know what I mean? So let them flow. So tell me, people like.
I'll be very short.
If you're short,
Mine is short.
let all is short.
Mine is short, no problem. So then let it go free.
Anyone who's doing the longest go first.
I don't think any of our long-winded folks are here today.
No, but depends. This is a book you guys have read earlier.
So no problem, then we'll let it go free. Okay.
I have one suggestion or a request. If you can also just say which of the stories or which of the girls that she talks about you like most or something like that. That'd be
What a
nice.
nice.
It's a good idea.
Thought of that.
That you could say. Yeah. I mean, if you want to
Now I have one suggestion on this point. This is something we have the facility, we have never really used it. There is a blog we have created, or rather I have created, SansSerif Book Club, where I post once a year maybe, and nobody else posts. So we can start posting there. Supposing 10 people want to talk in a meeting, it's not going to be possible. We'll trim everybody to 2 minutes, 3 minutes and something, and people may want to say more. You can always say more by posting a message.
Very good idea.
It is there, we will revive it properly. I am not revived it properly, we will revive it properly.
first time we went joining.
Huh.
I did try doing that, but I don't know what happened.
Then it just faded.
We
sort
just
of.
forgot it because we started.
So I will share the link.
Yeah, we'll revive it again, Latika. It's a very good idea.
Password, login and password.
No, it's
Comment on it.
WordPress and the link is there open link. Anybody with a link can join. I have set it up like that.
Searches on Google also can be,
You can. I have set it up like that.
that's not a good. I'm a bit wary about many people reading like that, because nowadays it's getting to be a problem.
Then one more point which has come up based on experiences in the last 2 months. It doesn't, in the sense that I think it has been partly solved now. Please read our selection of books. I want to just mention the core principles why this book club started. This is not a book club for talking about books. It's about reading and reviewing books. There's a big difference. Lot of book clubs. I have attended a few. Thanks to Prema invited us once, you remember. One person was talking, everybody was listening, that's all. Only one person has read the book in the entire book club. He was talking about the book and others were listening. That is not what this book club is all about. It never was like that. So please read the book. This is one request.
Not that interesting to read.
Pardon?
That's a
Ah.
very good point. What if you don't find the book interesting?
See,
That's what we
We have a voting process.
we see, you will be if you go through all the mails I have sent you when you join, you will find the stories about what this is all about, how we select our books, and how much time you have to buy the book and read it. So we select books for every.
What her point is, if we all select a book, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that she likes that book we selected.
Yeah, that can happen. We are doing it by a democratic process of voting. Sometimes we end up with books we don't like. That's the whole idea.
You just say, I hated this book.
You talk about why you don't like the book. You talk about why you don't like the book. That's equally interesting for all of us who like the book. Sometimes we get a lot of new ideas which we never thought of coming up in the discussions here. It's happened every month for us. We come here with certain set ideas and find there are so many other viewpoints, so many really interesting views which we even didn't think of. That is why we are very particular in this book club about reading and reviewing the books, not just talking about them.
Yeah, and the people here, it is far more rare that I like one of our selections that I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, being here means I read far more books, far different books than I normally do. And that's why it doesn't necessarily follow that I would like every one of them, but I'm glad that I had the opportunity to at least start a book, even if I didn't finish it.
Then, one more. This is a special appeal, request, whatever you say. On 1st July, Ganesh Shivaswamy has agreed to give us a special sitting with us after his intact lecture in the morning about his book. I have sent them mails, you would have seen the posters and the mails about it. This meeting was arranged by Sharon just because we asked her. And then if we don't turn up for the meeting, it's going to be too bad. So please, 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 attendances. I can't say compulsory, as much as possible make it.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. on 1st July, Saturday. It's a special meeting. His main meeting is come to Chennai for a meeting at morning. He has agreed to stay back and talk to us in the evening just because we asked him. Saturday. Our attendance is very important because of that. It will be very, very bad if we don't turn up. That's something I just wanted to tell.
Actually, the previous day he's coming to Madras Book Club.
Yeah, Madras Book Club. Next morning is intact meeting. That's why he's coming to Chennai. He's not coming for us.
Okay.
Okay, now I will start. This book is very different from any book I have read. It's part non-fiction, sociology based, part autobiography, and maybe part fiction. Think of it. A non-fiction book that reads like fiction. That is a feeling I got throughout the book when I was reading it. Feels like fiction, feels like fiction. Why? Was it intentional by the author, or was there some portion which is fiction? I don't know. Leave it to you. I was actually feeling some of the equivalents were doctored or added on to that extent. Maybe because I am not exposed to the people that she has been interviewing. That is my feeling. Most probably that is the case. I was not able to believe that real people behaved like this. Maybe they do. I am wrong. That's something I'd like to know today. I don't have enough exposure to the real world that way. Maybe. Problem with my age group. Anyway. Interesting approach she has taken in dividing it into 3 groups of interviews. The super rich, the lifestyles are very, very different, and it shows in the book. Shows very clearly in the book how the middle-aged people react, how the poor, the working class reacts. Their reactions are so different. But ultimately the problems are same. She has brought that point out very well, I thought. The book is beautifully written, I found. The statistics thrown in all over the narrative were very interesting to me because I am a data nut. There's a lot of data, I like the book. I have one basic question. When we review a non-fiction book like this, do we only talk about how the author went about handling the subject for this particular book? Her style of writing, artistry in putting this book together and all that? Or do we also talk about the underlying issue, cause, issue, problems that's supposed to be highlighted by the book? It's not exactly the book. It is going beyond the book in my opinion. This is something we have to decide how is the, like what Mirat said today. Talk about that. It's not really part of the book, but it is connected. So these are something, I'm just giving the ideas, throwing them open to all of you. Next, who is going? Whichever way.
Yes, sir, I'm not talking, only a comment. If you talk about the contents of this book, it will be a 3-day seminar. No, I'm not talking. No, Parimala, you finish. The book is for a seminar, that's all. No, let's do it. Okay. Okay, I'll be brief. I found this book, it's getting stuck, sorry. Shall I just hold it? Okay, I found this book very interesting to read, and also I realized these reviews are very misleading because the review in Hindu said it's not about Shahrukh Khan, but I believe this is quite a lot about Shahrukh Khan, and if you didn't know much about his movies, it's quite difficult to sort of connect.
Correct.
I think you do need a little bit of a background of what he did, all his movies. And then also, this comes on page 419. I realized on reading this, if what she says is true, I am living in a very, very, very protected life, a world. I have no exposure to what she says, and it's very difficult for me to accept and believe it. So I'd rather say, okay, it's all concocted, okay? So and she says that if you don't accept this, you've been living in a very protected world. And many of what she says are very, very interesting. Her quotes. See, in India, she says, life can often be described as the distance we travel between the people we are and the people we want to be. Some of her quotes are really very, very interesting. And then she says, which is very true, ordinary Indians actors and their films shape how ordinary Indians speak, dress and interact. We are very much influenced, not we, but the people around, I mean the other class of people are very much influenced by the how the actors behave and their lifestyle, everything influences them. Thank you, Meera. I like the book. It was something different. Yeah. Meera.
Yeah, hi.
Sorry, can everyone just introduce themselves for us?
Oh, sorry.
Your name, I got.
Sundari, yeah. Sundari. Suresh.
Yeah. This is Meera. And I suggested or recommended the book because I thought, again, it was very different from what we've read. And it was a very interesting premise, right? Using the actor as a peg. I think Suresh said it right in one of the chats that she uses it as a peg to sort of understand women. I mean, Shahrukh, I think, could easily be, although it's not exactly the same. I'm saying a study can be done about fans of Rajini, say. And a similar book may ensue, right? Yes. So in that sense, it's not about Shahrukh, but about the women themselves, I think. But the premise was interesting, and she actually won the award that I was nominated for, right? She won the non-fiction category award. And I met her, and she was very, very sweet also. So, so that was an extra plus as well. So things I liked about the book, I think, at least from my discussions with various people of, various age groups and classes, everybody could feel some woman that they could relate to is what I thought, right? I could relate with the Vidya, say, right? And I felt that every woman would find somebody that they can relate with. It could be the main person or the person's mother or whatever it is. And I think that was something that is, not often that you find in books that we read about women. That sometimes you don't relate to those women and their aspirations, etc. And I liked also that, like you said, she put herself in the book as well, right? A lot. She's very threadbare about her illusions and her ideas of romance and how a failure she's been at all of these things. And so that was something nice, because often in non-fiction you find the writer either withdrawing or not paying enough attention to others, and it's sort of like a non-fiction, but it's more like a memoir sort of thing. So they become too important. I thought this was the right sort of mix of not like being super removed and like all about them, right? So I liked all of that. And the women were really etched out nicely. I don't have quotes with me, but I think for a non-fiction or a researcher, she writes very well, which was something, that is something that I thought was...
All the data she quotes, that is...
Yeah, she's a researcher. So, yeah, she's an economist. Yeah. So I think that shows very well. I thought the earlier ones were flowed better than some of the ones that were later on in the book. Little hurried.
No, it was hurried.
Probably because we may not know as many people like that as well. That's possible. And for me, I couldn't read it at a stretch. It's not that sort of book. For me, at least, it wasn't. I couldn't read it all at a stretch. So it had to be over several days, because, after a point when you read it all together, it sort of blends into each other. So I had to take some time between the stories to read them. And yeah, so... but yeah, some people may find the stories could get a little repetitive, and sometimes you feel overwhelming feeling is not of joy for these women. It's a little sad in that sense, right? I mean, it is meant to be that, no doubt. It's like she says, right? In no metric is a woman better, like has equal to a man in India. Like, make no mistake, there is no metric on earth in which a woman is equal to a man in India. So I think
India, all over the world.
all over the world, yeah. But she mentioned specifically because I think her research has been here, and perhaps in some other countries you could find one or two metrics. English is there is absolutely no metric, right? So you feel sorry for many of them. So, but I mean, I wouldn't say that's a minus. It's just the way things are, I suppose. And I will. I think I like the accountant story the most. I don't know why, so maybe something for me to think about. But all these women very varied, right? Gold comes from it's a totally different story, and the accountant, the Meenal is completely different.
The one from Assam is gold.
Gold is the air hostess. Air hostess. Yeah. So that her story was very different also. So yeah, all in all, I'm happy that that I recommended. I really wanted more people to read this book, which is why you nominate a book, right? So yeah, that's that.
Who is the girl from Assam? Lily. Not Assam. Jharkhand.
She's from
Jharkhand. Sorry.
Okay.
That is the interest most in the Santal.
Yeah. Which is why the president is also right.
Yeah.
Murmuli, no, that's what I think. Yeah. Her story is also nice. Like she misses church.
Urva starting.
So, I'm Purva, and I really like this book. Like Meera said, I mean, it's not so much about Shahrukh Khan himself as it is about the women, which I appreciated, because bluntly, I'm not really a Shahrukh Khan fan. I'm not even a Bollywood fan. I can count on one hand the number of Hindi movies I've watched, and more of them have been on, the serious side. So whatever the Hindi version of was Pink, or even Shahrukh movies was more Chak De India than DDLJ. So what I really loved about this book was the insight it gave me into women who are seriously not like me. I mean, the book is not wrong in that the people in this book club, myself included, inhabit a very rarefied space, a privileged space. So it was interesting to step out of that space. And what I really liked about what's her name, Bhattacharya's research, was that she managed to make these women real people. There is an issue in a lot of research where you kind of the researcher kind of distances themselves for the sake of objectivity, but what happens is that winds up depersonalizing their subjects, and I don't think that happened here. It was nice, and also it was sad in some ways to get this glimpse into the very constrained lives of these women, because honestly most of them, they live with far more constraints than I ever will. But also it was nice to see fandom, and specifically the fandom of women, taken seriously, because I think generally we give men more freedom to love things. Sports fans are taken seriously. Men can go on about whatever most things they like, but women aren't afforded that luxury by and large. So it was really nice to see this woman take these women and their love of this dancing Bollywood, pretty boy basically. It was lovely to see them taken so seriously, and she gave them voices, which I don't think a lot of them have had. And you said that the latter half of the book, it was a little hurried. I'm wondering if part of that isn't simply because honestly these women do not have space and time in their busy daily lives to talk to some fancy pants researcher about Shahrukh. That is how busy the lives of less privileged people tend to be. Yeah, exactly. So and small quibbles, and that they are more about me as an individual reader. I knew a lot of the economics and sociology going in, the curse of the art student. So it did feel a little bit of, okay, I already know this, why are you telling me? And but I agree with Meera in the sense that it's not really a book you can read in one shot for two reasons. One is that after a point it was too much. This just the yes, these women had Shahrukh for an escape, but good lord, the things they had to escape from. So in that sense, this book wasn't the easiest read, and also the stories did get a little repetitive after a point. But all of that said, I'm really glad to have read that this book exists, and honestly, I think it would serve people better if more people, especially people who are involved in governing this country, read it, because honestly I think this does a better job of laying out problems in an accessible way than a lot of your whatever, your UN or your World Health whatever reports can manage.
Okay, so this is Ramesan, and I have read only about 50% of the book. So to the point that we were all somewhat sheltered, and especially because, as Suresh said, in a certain age group, most of us, had arranged marriages. So when you look at this, the lens through which she writes, which is really women's trying to date and find a partner, it is a bit eye-opening. But then, having lived in the US, I've encountered a lot of these problems just because the institution of an arranged marriage doesn't exist. So you see that a lot in any country where that doesn't exist. And one thing is, I think this is very useful if you have children who are in their 20s and early 30s and who are not yet married. And even if my son is not willing to have an arranged marriage, but if I have to give him advice, I can't just go and tell him, but at least I learn something, about, yeah, it's true, because it's something that I would never have learned otherwise. So I found all the stories very illuminating. Vidya was the one I could relate to the most, the way she studied, IIT, all of that, a Tamilian family and all that, so I could understand. The accountant, I felt sorry for her, admired her for her sheer grit, determination, never gave up. So, but yet at the end of it, she didn't achieve as much as she could have, but she at least tried. And the other thing is, when she talks about her classmate, she doesn't really name that person, but there are many things she says that are interesting. She says, land is an important asset that people want to pass on to their children, but they also want to pass on social connections. I mean, they don't just want to give them wealth and assets, but the rich want to pass on their influence networks, all of that. And she mentions, I think there's a line in there, the whole point of high society is to propagate those connections. It's not just people are just having cocktail parties for fun. There is a purpose to it, and she makes it sound as if it's a very natural human endeavor for people to want to do those things. And Gold, of course, was, I think she was the bravest of the lot, moved the farthest from where she was, and she, in a way, escaped successfully, more successfully than the others. So that was a very interesting aspect to it. I haven't read past Gold. I'm in the middle of something called The Surveyor. And she's talking about how she was surveying, collecting surveys after college. So I think that's about the Muslim women, the garment workers. Yeah. So that's I have to finish the book to kind of talk about that. But I don't think that it is something. It's not a fiction or anything. It is very true. Happens all the time, and I think it's going to happen more and more in the future. I mean, she's talking specifically with respect to Delhi. Chennai may be different, but I think it's going to happen all over India, just because people are going to have more choices, they're going to have more employment, more independence. So it's worth trying to understand all the complications, because it's easy to teach a child, study well, be ambitious, get a good job, but it is almost impossible to teach a child how to find the right partner. So that's what.
Hi, I'm Lata. I'm a Shahrukh fan. And I see a lot of... You're not? Okay.
She is.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be biased. I said, why not Shahrukh? He's a global star. He's iconic. I mean, he's well known. So why not Shahrukh?
Encyclopedia on Shahrukh.
No, it could be even, as you say, huh?
The next book will be by you.
Oh my God. No, so I think it's a good idea that they've chosen Shah Rukh Khan, and but the only thing is, I think only they've targeted the northern part of India. And I think the men there, the men in the south may be less chauvinistic than portrayed, than compared to the north.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so, because in the north, I think when it comes to education and all that, they're more educated, broad-minded and all that. So I think that is one thing that I miss out. And also, among the movies they have selected, they have missed out Swadesh, which is a wonderful movie, and there they have not shown him only as on the romantic side of his thing, but also how he feels for the downtrodden, the farmers and all that. He tries to solve the problem. So that was the one film that should have been included in the book.
Even Chak De, she
Yeah, Chak De also, no, it's not.
was really
Yeah, it was a letdown.
She says that, after a few movies, he wanted to get this romantic hero thing, and he wanted to talk about things like nationalism and feeling which are apparently much greater than romantic love.
Correct, yeah. And plus he himself has produced it. No, I think nobody was, I think he's done it himself. So
Yeah, I think the book is about him. As
About
a
him, yeah.
hero. So Swadesh and Chak De would not necessarily.
no,
be
to
relevant.
project the softer side of him, how he feels about the problems. I mean, it's a thing. And otherwise, I like the book. And I read it quite in a hurry, so I'm not able to really retain. I just finished it this morning actually. So it was like and I have to thank Parimala. She pushed me into reading it. Initially, I was not very, I found it hard to, to continue reading, and I was like giving up. But I think I have to thank her, and I'm glad now that I read it, and it's nice.
something about his PR.
Yeah, I think he's so good. I think to reach where he has, he must be having a lot of intelligence. A lot of, it's not something that, just happened. He's the second richest star in the world, actor in the world. Second richest, yeah. And the first in Asia and India, of course. But so for him, and coming from the background that he did, ordinary Delhi boy, he's come and, struggled and worked hard. Nobody talks about him. Everybody talks about him only as a romantic hero. But he's really worked hard. And I think the women are justified when they want to get away from realism to go and watch his movies and sing his songs. I think he's too good. And what about his PR skills? I'm sure this book, I have a feeling that he must have been a part of it too. Marketing skills, yeah. I think so.
Researcher with integrity would
Yeah.
not allow that. It would not.
Otherwise, she would have said she met him
Somewhere,
sometime.
she was mentioned about Shahrukh. Of course, he thanking the.
Afterwards, like now, recently, at that thing they asked her also, would you like to meet him? She said, I don't know, some fantasy are better. Undisturbed is what she said.
I don't know. Somehow I thought it might be somewhere. You need a lot of brains to do that. To come up with this idea. See, you cannot. How beautifully he's linked the economics and social, intertwined the two. It's done so well. So, anyway, I'm glad I read the book.
That's how it is in this book club.
Yeah.
You are reluctant when you look at the cover. as if
Yeah,
you're
but
not going to
you need a lot of determination to continue.
First, let's start with a disclaimer. I've been insulated from Bollywood movies so much, so I really did not know that Shahrukh Khan was such a big actor. Honestly, I saw 1.5 movies of Shahrukh Khan because and even that I watched because my husband forced me to. So anyway, I did not know. Only the book revealed so much about him. I had absolutely no idea. And having said that, I just want to say this was an excellent book, brilliant book. The style beautiful. It sound when I read her language, it seems like a stream flowing fast. That's how I can put it. She uses very good vocabulary, but at the same time not pedantic. And then she gives a lot of data, but in a very, very clever, intelligent way. I'll come to that. And she uses language which she translates everything into layman's language, because of the emotional background, and then inserting the data in it and all that. And it's obviously it's a critical narrative of women's life in India. But I think she's merely borrowing Shahrukh Khan's persona just to make it more livelier, and also to hammer a point about women's inner longings and expectations. Even without Shahrukh Khan, this book would have been excellent. It would have been, even without him, she didn't need him. Even without him, it would have.
No, you have to look into the economics of it. If it was about Rajnikant, I wouldn't have. Or any other star, I wouldn't have. Frankly.
Maybe it was to draw the audience, but if you look at the contents, what she wants to say, she could have easily said it without recourse to roping in Shahrukh Khan, that's all. But then it wouldn't have been interesting.
Had the same impact.
Okay, alright, I agree.
Each one has a...
Because it has so many stories of human interest, like all the stories that we have. So I thought, even without Shahrukh, but maybe because the women are so fond of Shahrukh, maybe she made a point there. It is a very ambitious project, no doubt, extremely ambitious project, really wide. Look at the gamut of women she has interviewed, the stories. Like Lata said, she left the South Indian women out, even though that Vidya is supposed to have represented them. She herself says she's 100% Delhiite. So I don't think Vidya could be taken as a representative of South Indian women. She can. Vidya Shekhar.
Was there a mention of, I think, women from Kerala who basically said, look, we are not Salman Khan fans, we've got other heroes?
Mohanlal and Well, I will also. I am a fan of Kamala Hassan and Mohanlal. I hardly know Shahrukh Khan, so that's okay. Shahrukh Khan is not in everybody's life, so that's fine. So a lot of work has gone into it, because back 2 decades of work has gone into it, and in between she went to Boston, studied there, came back, and she kept in touch with all of these women, the tribal women. And when remember in that when she herself talked, there are 2 instances I think where it's biographical. The very first instance where she falls in love with a white man, I don't know if it's her or it's somebody else, the way she puts it. And then the second time when she falls in love with the one, the rich Delhiite guy, when she's in a party with the one, she's having a nice conversation with the historian. It's all as if we are reading a novel about jet set people, but then suddenly she gets into all this data with the historian. So she's deftly, very cleverly introducing all the data, so we don't get tired of it and all that. And the very sad part is, every time she tries to be a smart woman, not tries to be, she is a smart woman, this guy had to come and say, you overthink. Anything she does, you overthink. That's what she said. So that was very putting down. Of course, we had that in all the instances, right from the accountant and from every... Oh, sorry. The accountant and the story of gold and all that, I found something was being hashed and rehashed. Like many of you mentioned, the repetition, like to translate a local idiom, like grinding the same batter again and again. Aracha maava arakkirathu, like that, So many of the things I kept, like, I thought, oh, didn't I read that in the previous chapter? Didn't I read that in the... So that made it a little tedious. I'll be honest. It was a little tedious, laborious to read the book. But the stories of the women were quite interesting, and I think she spent too much time on the accountant and the gold. 50 pages for the accountant, 50 pages for gold and something. And gold story was really, when I read gold, then I thought, nice, many of us were arranged marriages. We all were handed a husband on a tray, so we had no problem. But that gold, my God, what she went through, to escape an arranged marriage. And finally she found a Captain America. But we do not know how how that would be work out. Arranged marriages or love marriages, we don't know how they work out finally or play out finally. And what I wanted to say was this wide gamut of women from Vidya Shekhar. She was from a middle class family, pulled herself with her own shoestring. Her friend, the student, from the upper echelons of society. And then she goes to the accountant, who is from a middle class Hindu belt. She takes into account all parts of India. I mean, let's forget that she didn't mention South, it's okay. Hindu belt, we have the accountant. She's from Meerut, from a very orthodox Hindu family. And Gold is from a Rajasthan family, very, very orthodox. She managed to run away from the house, very brave woman. And then she goes to the Muslim, that demographic, extremely poor Muslim women. She handles them in 2 chapters. Manju and her mother, and then the Zinal. And Manju's story was very compelling. She gets married and then she leaves her husband, comes back. For somebody in that layer of society to leave, then come back and go, that was wonderful. So she deals with them, and she doesn't forget the tribal women, and not only just tribal women, Christian tribal women. So that is a big demographic. And because the tribal women, as you know, are the most denigrated, the most oppressed women, totally. So that was a brilliant move to go to Jharkhand, interview these women, live-in domestic workers and live-out domestic workers. Look at the work she did. She kept in contact with them even after going to the US and coming back. And then she also contacted live-out domestic workers like Sandhya, who live in the slums of Delhi. So it was a wide range of women that she handled. And then the strategy of using Shahrukh Khan is a bit novel, that I should say, because that important sentence she says, Shahrukh Khan sees women, Salman Khan protects women, and Amir Khan teaches women. So among these 3, that's why she feels that women, because he sees women, he's always seeing into a glorified optometrist, I thought, always looking into women. That I think touched the women so much. That's why even with broken TVs, they wanted to see them. So I don't want to touch too much upon the contents, because like I told Suresh, it will be a seminar. But I think, what did I want to say? I admired the way she did her research. It was really intense. I think she must have really had a great, she was totally, engrossed in this work, or had so much reverence for the women that she put in a lot of work. That was there. And can I also mention this girl called Vibha from the wealthy Jat family. Even though she was from such a wealthy Jat family, a younger brother managed to put her down. Patriarchy, she brings it out very well. And it's like really a multi-stranded brain. See, economic conditions, patriarchal control, societal control, family control, and even the inability to enjoy even small innocuous desires like watching a TV show or watching a movie. So many of these things have been denied to the women, at least to the women from the lower classes of society. She managed to put in all this. And so finally, when I finished the book, it was really a very sad, it was like reading a very tragic saga. It was extremely sad. And I want to quote one thing from what she said. She says, in India, I have come to know the India I have come to know can only be described as a sisterhood of desperate and disappointed women. That's what she says. Whether they are from the upper classes or lower classes, they all have the same problem. And her own bias, the author, she believes that women's access to independence is one of the tools of resistance against patriarchy. If they can get economic independence, that will be something, a tool against patriarchy. So I thought those were very telling things. That is her perspective on the whole thing. So I thought it's a brilliant book. I'm glad I read it. Thanks for recommending the book.
But are women so badly off in India? I just want to put yes.
Much more than economically.
Like I said, no protecting very, very good.
When I read this,
Protect is so much
I'm not equal. I'm not equal. I acknowledge that.
I don't know if you guys said, I sent you a little thing from CNN. It's
I
going to take
didn't have time.
131 years to close the gender gap. In the US, you know, I mean, the same rumblings go on in the United States also. I lived there, so that's what I'm saying. So the same thing. But of course, here it's much more. The poverty, women of poverty is very sad.
Many of them don't admit also. But they're not including their husbands.
Okay, Latika.
Yeah, okay. I got it pinned on. I'm Latika, and I have read up till page. I've got 150 pages still to read of the book, so I can talk about this. I thought it was, for me, it's a very good referral book, or you know, something onto a textbook, because as Purva said it, she's made basic stats readable, you know, in what she has said. It's extremely readable, and also it's understandable. So I found that definitely interesting. There are lots of things that she's put in, some of the things which are very, very valid, some of the statements she made. In fact, I was blocking them. I've got a page full of it, but which I felt stands out, it's valid. When you say, only thing I found her language, or maybe it's basic editing, I found a lot of grammatical errors. Maybe it's, yeah, I did. So I found that a little funny, but anyway, wondered if it was the printer's devil or the editing gone wrong. So that's a different. Yeah.
Because we used to say a sentence.
Yeah.
But sometimes nowadays they say.
No, it's not that. There's some sentences which just didn't make sense. You had to go back and see what was it that was what didn't work.
She uses words like precariat, which is actually
Yeah,
a word,
yeah.
precarious and proletariat. It's not easily going to encounter it in other places.
And the tales that she has come out, I mean, the people she interviewed and the stories that she's come out with, I didn't think that it was fiction, because this is what is happening. And it doesn't matter whether you're from the north, south, east, west, of any country for that matter, because how would you explain Beatlemania and people carving the names of all of them into their flesh with penknives? Okay? It's happening the whole world over. But what I liked very much in this book is how she brings out the whole idea of patriarchy. It's there, it's solidly there in the book, and it is very much there. And Lata, I'd like to disagree with something you said. I come from the state of Kerala, okay? This is the land of the highly educated women, and it's also the land of the most chauvinistic men you can ever find in your life. It,
Chandra, and she would have, she's also from Kerala, she would have stories that would burn your hair.
no, it's really, they are, you allow the women to be educated, so you tell the world they're educated. Yes, women are all educated, and thanks to that education, you see Kerala conforming to the, the one child norm or the two child norm, which they made it into one. It also accounts for the fact that, Khalil, despite the encouragement or the blandishments given from by the mullahs to tell the Muslim ladies that they have to procreate more, they have said, you do it. I mean, I stop with 2. And this is all what education has done. But that said, it's a very chauvinistic state. It's a very, the whole thing, it goes to the uncle. He is the person who, matrilineal certainly, but the person who made the decision is the uncle in the case of a girl. So it's not, and it hasn't changed an iota. So the men she has described, where she says the boys can go on joyrides, Manju's case, and things like that, exist all over, even here. The only thing I'd say, the one place where life is a lot more fair because the salaries are the same is the government. There's no difference in the work you do or the salary you get.
IT also, pretty much.
And IT,
IT is, there are issues. I have heard stories from friends, but that's...
no, I'm not commenting on that, but at least for us in this country, government pays you the same for the work done. And over the years, in most of the fields where the women folk are coming in, you are finding things, things are panning out. So, yeah, maybe it'll take one more or two more generations for everything to come normal, but yes, it is happening in some way or the other. But Shahrukh Khan can be Rajnikant or can be Amitabh of the some other day, or Rajesh Khanna. That's your fantasy world. When things are not going okay, where do you escape to? This is one place, it's a fantasy world. I mean, and I think everybody has a fantasy world. I mean, my fantasy world was always the world of magic and sci-fi. So, yeah, because I would love to wave a wand and say, speak Suresh and he'll tell me the truth and I don't have to bother about anything else. So, it's like that. Whereas, when you really have to go after something, it's a lot of hard work. Well, she makes one of the, I like the thing which she's written about why women drop out of the workforce and the 4 effects, and it is there, and the one that is really the one that I think people should read about, the people in government and industry, is the structural transformation of the economy, where the job creation is where the women do not want to work and not in the places where industries which are employing women. So, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, everything in our good country and perhaps in others is all about Maryada. Everything is the izzat of the family and Maryada and everything, it goes. So, I liked something else she's written, that her, the little heading she's given, Maryada, Markets and Modernity, which is what I think Manju was falling on. And I like Deadlines, Dishes and Dignity. It tells you what the life of women are totally with that. And of course, if you want to, if modernity has come your way, like she's put it, that the roads made a huge difference to the lives. I won't say the livelihood, but the lives of the women. And the roads in UP are so dreadful. So now that's, it's made a difference, and she's turned it into whiskey, wiring and women. And that's also, those things are, it comes. And what is the part I found interesting vis-a-vis Shahrukh Khan is that one of them, I think it's the accountant, who's more into him or Vidya, because of his interviews and stuff like that.
I want to say Vidya,
yes. Maybe that makes greater sense for somebody who's in a comfortable way where you don't have to escape, and that makes a huge big difference in what he means or what he says. So that's possibly there. But I would like to say one thing, I'll end off here. I have actually, this is almost way back in 1979 or 80. I have seen two old women, one who could hardly walk, resting or taking the help of one who couldn't see, and the two of them had made it to a public meeting which their Vadiyar was going to, that is MGR, was going to address. Okay? And yeah, he's called Vadiyar. And the only thing, they came and caught me because I was doing that final bit of the Pandibal, they wanted to get near him so they could touch him.
They all want to touch him.
They want to touch him. Now this is the very same kind of scene. I've had another instance of a woman with carrying a child on her hip telling me that if Vadiyar touches the child, he will walk again. And MGR caught my shoulder and said, on no account does she touch me. So
Don't let her touch.
I was the shield. I was called every name under the sun, but so it's the belief people have about the idol, and it doesn't matter who the idol is, whoever is your idol. So this book, I mean, Desperately Seeking Shahrukh Khan, could have been him because I think he's relevant to the young, I mean the 30s, and he's relevant there and across the Hindi belt, and I feel that others would be equally relevant in other places. I mean, maybe not so much as Shahrukh Khan, but certainly, I mean, you see the crowds for everybody else, but I have seen it, experienced it for MGR.
I thought MGR loved people facade.
Oh, every celebrity, be it politician, political, whatever it is, they need the public. You need the energy from the public. They all love it. They love people being there, but they don't want them on top of them. That's the point.
I wanted that mothers believed in me to be crushed. I mean, imagine.
Maybe that's why he didn't.
No, he didn't, because if he touches that child and the child doesn't walk, then the magic of the whole thing.
Okay, confession time. My name is Anand. I haven't read the book, but I have a unique experience. When I was living in Sydney, I had to wait 8 hours with my little daughter. We all became extras in some movie, Chuck Day. There you go. I was totally unimpressed, but what to do? Had to go. The little lady
wanted. One of his best movies.
One of his best. He's really a
Anyway, that was my claim to fame. He has charisma. He has some sort of attraction.
Oh, wow.
And we're talking Sydney in the 90s or late 90s. Late 90s, early 2000s.
I saw it as a teenager, so it would be the late 2000s.
No? Whatever, I mean, it was.
2008, something like that.
I lived there 40 years, man, but this is the only chap I went and stood in the night for because little lady wanted to meet him.
Was he nice to all of you?
We saw him a mile away, but and there were thousands of us, mostly female.
Okay.
And few fathers. Assorted fathers.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was decent to us. He just waved. We waved. But there's no one wanted to be, I mean, they said that we're in some country.
Okay. Hi, my name is Khalil. I joined the Anand Club. I haven't read the book. Hopefully, I'll do it the next month. Not this book, but whatever book. Yeah. So, just one point about the gender inequality, etc. Things have changed, but have the mindsets changed? That's my question. Okay. Because I went out of India, and then after a long time I came back. Everybody was talking the same language, and probably it was a little bit nuanced. But other than that, I don't think, and I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. Different countries are at different levels, different communities are at different levels, but that's what I feel. So, my 2 cents. Okay, that's my thing. I believe that's what we have to work on. Okay.
Phone. No, I need my phone, my notes and my phone. Yeah, please, and then thank you.
I have an explanation why she gets to her, on why she's only chosen North India. I think her research took her there.
That was her research.
International researchers, they look for those states only. Tamil Nadu usually even submit a proposal and states. They look for these developed states. So she probably went there, traveled a lot, which is why she's used them. Use their stories is my like practically I think that's what she's done. And the language barrier. The language barrier down south. 2,000.
Okay. Hi, my name is Upasana, and I've recently moved back. Again, born, brought up in Madras, but I've recently shifted back last year to Chennai. And I was in Gurgaon for about 10 years, and I worked with a community called Gurgaon Moms, which was, when I left, it was 40,000 women strong online. So when you talk about stories, I've heard the worst possible and also the best possible. But the worst comes from the least expected. Like when they say people who live in glass houses, it is so true. So I went into this book like I think most younger women would expecting a bit of Bollywood. So when I realized it was non-fiction and very hard-hitting non-fiction, it kind of put me off a bit. I like the way the author connected movies to real life and the small anecdotes she brought in. That pleased me a lot. And it was only this morning that I found out from my daughter that it's a lot about economics and sociology. So I was like, I wish I had known this earlier. I have read 65% of the book, but that's about it. And I think I associate reading more with fun and relaxation. So this was not my cup of tea, but I did relate to the feminist parts. And like I was telling Mr. Suresh sir, that a lot of it was too hard hitting for me to go back to. Like the realism was too much because I've seen it, I've read these anonymous posts, and especially during COVID, it was really very difficult on all of us, like the team. It was very, very overwhelming. So some of it was just, I was like, I don't need this again. So that was my decision. And yeah, definitely, ma'am. It's and I'm talking about people who are educated, who look the perfect couple outside and on social media, and he's a wife beater. I'm talking about people like that. So it's
difficult for the wife to come out and
exactly.
It's the Maryada thing.
Yeah.
Maryada thing, correct.
See, what I have noticed.
And this, honor killing and all that, it's 100% true in the north. It does happen. 100% does happen. Yeah.
We are the lucky.
Absolutely. So like few lines I remember highlighting, like she says, life can often be described as the distance we travel between the people we are and the people we want to be. I really love that line.
I love that.
And going back to what someone was saying, whether he's read the book, what I really like about Shahrukh Khan is he connects with the generation of today. Like my daughter and friends are fans of him because of the way he speaks and conducts himself. So when she went to present him with this book, she met him. She had an hour-long meeting in his house. She gave him a copy, and he has written in the book, I am glad my name was put of some use, which is not something that a film star of that caliber would do.
He is very intelligent, and some of the things you see online, his videos and all, he's very humble. He's very down to earth. There was some lady who's there was a Make-A-Wish Foundation. There's some lady terminally ill who said, I want to meet Shahrukh Khan. So he did an hour-long video call with her. Like, who does that in this day and age? That's all. So I'm not a big fan of his. I don't see all his movies and all, but I love my Hindi movies and English movies as well. Of course, I watch a lot of Tamil cinema also, or Malayalam, whatever comes my way. But I'm not a big fan of his, but he is a really nice guy. So I wanted to know more about him in the book, which I was really disappointed. But I promise you I'm a good reader, and the next 2 books I shall not disappoint.
If everyone liked the same books, it would be really good.
Yeah, true. That's true. So shall we end the recording?
Yes.
Thank you, Basna.
Thank you everyone. Have a good day.
Just stop.